Hey Guardians, welcome to my review of Heresy Act I. Today I'll be going over what happened in the first 3 weeks, aka all of Act I of Heresy. The good, a tiny bit of bad, and then the hope for the future this episode is presenting. If you want to jump straight to the feedback and praise, jump to the timestamp on the screen now. Without further ado, let's begin. The act opens with us investigating Taken activity in the EDZ, directed by Drifter and Eris while they make their way to Saturn's orbit. During our journey to the source of the new Taken infestation, we encounter a new form of Taken, filled with dire energy. But that's not the most interesting part. They're new Taken. Not new in the sense of we fought these named Taken before or they're super old, but rather they're newly formed. Made from Red Legion, Modern Vex, House of Dusk, and more Hive. Don't believe me? Compare these two Taken Scion models. The one on the left of the regular D2 Scion model is based on the D1 Scion. The one on the right belongs to none other than the Red Legion Scion. Not only that, but these dire Taken have new abilities, some swapping their abilities around whilst others get their new abilities altogether. This is great. It is a new way to spice up the gameplay loop and expand on the Taken's place in the Destiny universe. We fight a Taken Ogre and discover an anchor from the Dreadnought, trying to cause an inversion on Earth. We enter the anchor's portal and make our way through the Ascendant Plane past more and more anchors. Eventually, we exit through another portal and arrive on the Dreadnought. We follow Eris and Drifter's beacon until we arrive at the Court of Oryx. Drifter and Eris fight against some Taken thralls until a subjugator arrives and stabs Eris, killing her.
I sense a familiar presence. Fingertips on the surface. No. This is new. Something's wrong. We must find the Guardian.
Maybe we can make our way back.
Creature.
We kill a boss and secure a Tablet of Ruin before chasing after the Subjugator. We find it and interrupt its ritual. The Subjugator retreats and we officially confirm Eris' death.
Harris. No. Mundus. It's okay. I got you. Moonlight.
Right after Drifter cradles her corpse, we get a second cutscene where Eris appears in what can only be presumed as her throne world and laughs, taking off her cloth and finally showing us what the eyes beneath look like that she plucked off an acolyte oh so long ago. Drifter's voice actor for this whole chain of events absolutely nailed the delivery of his lines. I'm a sucker for some good voice acting, but it's crazy to think how this is the same game as Lightfall.
Over. You and Rohan are our only hope.
We go to Eris's apartment in the last city and listen to a message she left for the people she called friends, including us. We mourn in silence. That's the intro for Act 1 and the end of the first week's content. Week 2 introduces the new exotic mission, Derealize. First, we stop another inversion anchor by traveling to the Savathun's throne world and get intercepted by the Witch Queen herself, warning us not to continue to meddle in her family's affairs. Naturally, we don't listen to the Bug Mother and press onwards. We get a cool hologram call from Drifter, a nice supplement from going back and forth to the helm. We enter the Nether again to recover Skyburner Legion data from long-dead Cabal who never made it off the Dreadnought near the end of the Taken War. After that, we must seek out a Blight that has a random chance to spawn in one of 2 areas in the Nether, meaning you have a third of a chance to load into the Mausoleum that won't spawn the Blight, and then add the RNG factor to the other 2 areas, so it's not even guaranteed to get said Blight in the correct 2 areas. Fun. Once inside the Blight, we solve a mini puzzle by walking to the right and collecting a Taken Osseous fragment, then return to the shaping slab. We travel to the moon and Cosmodrome to collect 2 more fragments, then begin to harness the power of the Taken even further by conducting rituals via the Rule of 3. We can finally now load into the exotic mission. The most annoying part of this mission is the puzzle to get out of the Blight once you defeat the big subjugator. Mainly because the guide I looked up wasn't very useful and actually sort of lied about how the puzzle worked. Thankfully, the second guide actually showed me what I was supposed to do, so cheers for that. We make our way through the invasion bay and eventually find the source of the signal Sloane had been tracking. Turns out it wasn't the weapon, but actually a Hive Knight from Xivu Arath's brood, one that was both taken and not taken at the same time. We kill the Hive version of the Knight, allowing the taken version to take over. We run and lock the room behind us, trapping the taken Knight inside the Ascendant Plane. We can now use the Barrow Dyad exotic SMG. Week 3, the final week of content for Act 1, has us hunt down 3 Hive Wizards, taking their hands and head, as one casually does, and use these parts to hack the Dreadnought's weapon system. We arrive in the court of Oryx, and turns out the Echo is here, and the voice inside is none other than the Echo of the Navigator, Oryx the Taken King himself. The voice of Xivu Arath and Savathun herself arrive, and the siblings reunite to update the Echo on what has transpired since Oryx's death.
I am the Taken King, the first Navigator. I rise from the deep. Xivu Arath, what has become of our war? Slain.
Sadly, yes, Elder Brother. You're just the memory of a dead god. The sword you always wanted to become.
I only just mantled myself by the death of Akka. Carved my throne from the worm's corpse. If I am destroyed, then I deserve extinction. My heir, my killer. Step forward.
Stop acting like children, the both of you. We are finally free to create new paths for ourselves.
Insert obligatory escape scene, and that's the end of Act 1. There was also a new dungeon release at the beginning of Week 1, but we'll talk about that separately since the dungeon story doesn't fully tie into the episode story. Same as Vesper's host. To those who skipped ahead, welcome to the review part. To those who stuck through, thanks for continuing to be here. Heresy is definitely the best episode by a long shot, just off of Act 1 alone. Echoes and Revenant had their moments, Echoes being the weakest by far, but they don't hold a candle to the stakes and interest in this episode's story so far. Now, of course, I don't want to count all my eggs before they hatch, but if this first act is anything to go off, then this whole episode will be amazing story-wise. The Nether is a fun activity to passively play, hence why I prefer the Expert difficulty compared to the regular version. It's much more of a fun challenge and more rewarding, and that's without having the Tome of Want active during your run. There are even actually decent, or dare I say top-tier weapons and perks to chase this time compared to last episode. Still no crafted weapons, which kinda sucks, but the trade-off now, using the Tome of Want to focus your weapon drops, is acceptable in my eyes. The whole idea of us finally learning to use the power of the Taken and Eris's death was a genius hook, something this game desperately needed to pique interest once again. As I said in my first 24-hour review, the only critique I'd have of the opening to this act is to just not show us the cutscene of Eris still being alive. Maybe wait until the end of the act or the beginning of Act 2 and then reveal she's alive so we can actually feel the impact of her death rather than being told we're mourning when we, the player, know she's alive and well. Call it a nitpick, but I think it would certainly have made the stakes feel a bit more real. For now, at least. There have been a few new aspects per class, and good lord did Arc Warlocks eat good this episode. We got another little turret buddy whom I proudly adopted and named Jeff. Titans come second with their respected aspect, and then there's Hunters. Sorry lads, you'll get another chance to shine someday. The new dungeon, Sundred Doctrine, was okay. Not the best, but not the worst. The dungeon had us re-enter Rolk's long-abandoned pyramid and pursue the Dread who infiltrated it, seeking a new purpose from within. Each armor piece from this dungeon gives us the backstory as to how each member of the Dread was created. Something long overdue at this point. I'll say it now, there is no worm god or even a worm boss in this dungeon, something Jacob learned the hard way while we did our first clear. Disappointing news for sure. Eververse got some new cosmetic stuff called holochips, which costs 800 silver a pop. All it does is give you a pink fart trail that flows behind you. It's dumb. There is no easy way to beat around the bush with that. It's just dumb, and anyone who spends money on it needs to attempt a Petra's run while doing Riven legit. A very heavy sentence I don't use lightly. Something that many players will be aware of is the voiceover strikes that have been happening that have affected some of the dialogue being played in this episode, mainly Zivo Arath and Sloane's. As I've said before and will say again, the strikes are a good thing. Protection, especially in today's world against AI and voice cloning, is a necessity. That goes for film and TV actors too, any actor for that matter. Pay them fairly and protect them against the machines some morons are trying to push to replace the form of art that is both acting and writing. That's about everything I have to say regarding Act 1 of Heresy. Overall, it was a very solid start to this episode and has set the bar of expectations higher than it was for Echoes and Revenant. Best of luck, Bungie, you've got our attention. Now don't fuck it up. I've been Fawn Umbrella 612 and I hope you have an amazing day. Stay frosty.